All right, welcome into the half. My name is Erich Montgomery, and you can find me over at oursuccessgroup.com. This fine gentleman right here is Mr. Erich Campbell, and you can find him at erichcampbell.com. Erich, it is another wonderful Friday. What is new and good for you, sir?
Lots of things, lots of things. Number one, I just want to say, if you weren't there for the Two Regular Guys show this morning, you need to go check back in. We had Jenna Sackett on from Stalls, as you may know her from Stalls TV, especially. That's where I
Yep.
know her.
Yep.
Aside from, of course, just getting to see her in person at all the wonderful shows that she does, because boy, she's a road warrior like all of us.
Yep. Yep.
But just great information about not only about stuff like social media, which was the initial topic that we're talking about, but just good information about decorating and heat printing and trends. So if you missed that, go back, watch the Two Regular Guys from this morning, be part of the hashtag replay squad, jump in and do that, because
I
honestly, there
like
was some
that.
really
So
good
you
stuff
do
from
that now.
the hashtag. I just did it one time. I talk with my hands too much, so I just had to have something to do with my hands. I was like, what do I do with my hands?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah. I can't
that's
figure
a
it
good
out.
movie
So
too.
there we go. Hashtag.
All right,
Hashtag replay squad. Yeah,
excellent.
jump in and check that out, guys. Because like I said, Jenna had some good stuff. I'm just going to encapsulate one thing. The one like actionable cool thing she had was people doing direct film transfers, because they're very versatile and be pressed on lots of different services. She had people doing gift kits where she's doing multiple different objects, doing hats and other kinds of garments and drinkware all together, and then pressing that same logo on the outside of the box for doing a kit box. What a great concept! With a gang sheet, doing a gang sheet from
Yep.
Stalls, then breaking it up into a gift set was such a cool idea. So
Yeah.
that's just one of these several awesome things she talked about, and many many more that were on the topic of social media. So it was advertised on the tin, but just good stuff. So
Yeah.
good to
Yeah.
hear her talking about being out of the box, man. That was good stuff.
Yeah, it was. It was great. Great show. All right. Well, let's see who we've
Yeah.
got here. We got Mike Aloha. I don't know if you do
Mike.
hang loose, right? That was a
There
Hawaiian
we
thing
go.
when I went hang loose,
All
right?
right.
Let's see here. Whoops, wrong button. Ramona. Hey, hey, hey. Morning, guys. Good to see you, Ramona, again. Tuning in. And Barb, good to see you. Good morning to you.
Yep.
And
Good morning, Barb.
good morning. So many shows all at the same time, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that with my own show. If you guys, here's something. If you guys are take up viewers, let me know. Do you want a different time for the show? It was started during the pandemic in the afternoons when people were all home, and now I'm wondering, do you guys want a nighttime show? I've been flirting with a Thursday night.
Oh
Let's
boy.
talk about that. When do you guys tune in for shows?
All right.
It's your best shot. I've been thinking about that this last week.
All right, there you go. So give Eric some feedback. Reach out to him. Let him know. Comment here, whatever you
Comment
need.
wherever.
Yeah,
Talk about it.
exactly. Frank, good afternoon to you. Thanks for
Thank you,
tuning.
Frank.
Yeah,
Awesome,
yep.
always.
All right. Barb talking to Cindy, so we're sharing back and
Talking to
forth
each other.
there.
Great.
Yep.
Oh, take up is a perfect time. Okay, I'll take that one under advisement. We'll have to ask the rest of the take up, the rest of the reciprocators. We'll see. We'll see how people are doing with that. But yeah, I love that you guys talk to each other in the comments. I like that you guys are here.
Perfect.
But yeah,
That's what it's
it's
all
something I
about.
always think
Community,
about. Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah. All right. So there we go. Mike says, nope, evening shows don't work for me as a family guy. That's dad time.
Kind of what I thought. We had some people who wanted the evening shows because they're at work time, and some people don't. And I'm like, well, that's a good time for the replay squad. Check it
There
when
you
you
go.
have to. But
Yep, exactly. Lori, hello. Thank you for being
Hey,
here.
Lori, thanks for being here.
Jesse, hello, everyone. Cyclone, West Virginia. Yep,
What a
yep,
good
yep.
town name, by the way.
Yeah,
That's a good
I
one.
agree. Very,
I love
very
it.
good town name. Barb. Barb's our welcoming crew. I love that.
Yeah,
Thanks for
right.
being here, Barb. I appreciate that. Mike says, I rarely get to catch the needle bar.
That's
All
the
right.
embroidery nerd stuff that they do on Tuesdays. And Cindy says Friday night would be football time. Yeah, I took that into account. Thursday night was my thought. But yeah, that's always a rough call. Yeah, Friday night, because my wife was asking me that. It's like, which nights were you thinking about? And I'm like, well, can't do Sunday, can't do Monday, can't do Friday because of Friday night football especially Texas, man. Friday night's
Yeah.
a big night.
Big night.
We have a
Yeah,
lot
for
of
sure.
folks in Texas who listen. So, yep.
There we go. Ramona says, if you want to do a take up
Ooh.
two, sure, but I'm in the office till 5-ish and then I put it all away. Well, for the most part.
Well heard. I think maybe that won't be the thing. We talked about it for a minute because I thought about, is that what people still want, the afternoon show? But hey, always good to hear back some feedback from you folks.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Barb sees these other people in these good people in other channels. So
Yep.
Love it.
I think that that's the thing. You guys who are into education, you guys kind of are the core, and you're there for a lot of different shows, and they're kind of doing your thing and learning, and that's always awesome. I love to see
Yeah.
community build up. That's what
Yeah.
we always do about that.
Well, and learning, sharing, right? To be honest with you, some
Yeah.
of the things that I'm probably the best at are
Mhm.
when I was able to kind of transition into, hey, I've got to teach this, right? I got to be able to
Yeah.
share this, is when I became the best at it. Because it's one thing to be able to do it, it's another thing to be able to share it with somebody else, and that takes your skills to the next level. So yeah, I mean, everybody getting in, sharing their, so it's not always just in, it's kind of reciprocal. So I love that for sure.
Hence the reciprocators, everybody giving back and sharing. Well, then I think that's the thing. When you attend these things and when you meet other people like this who are into improving their situation, into learning, then you actually create something much bigger than you create on your own. You end up with these resources that are beyond the shows, beyond the educators, beyond the stuff that we build. Now, don't get me wrong, I take a lot of time on those slides and handouts. I'm hoping you are looking at them, but it's still great that there is this resource that kind of springs up out of the group of people who are there. I think
Yeah.
it's awesome. That collection of backgrounds and insights is great. Also, what I'm going to say, if you want to learn anything, take the moment to try to teach it, even if you don't think you're really going to teach it. Try to re-explain something in your own words. Try to teach it to somebody else who doesn't understand it. You'll find all the holes in your own knowledge, and you'll solidify the ideas you're not sure of
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
It's a great way to learn something, is to try and teach it to someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. Learning is really about clarity, Eric, in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
right? It's just
Yeah.
gaining clarity on
Yeah.
what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And so
Hmm.
what you said there is exactly right, right? That finding the holes, understanding, how to turn it into your own language, which then is going to give you clarity and make sense to you. So I love that thought for sure.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to study.
Yeah, for sure. Cindy says, my husband gets mad when I bring home work too. So
I think I am work right now.
yeah,
I don't bring work. Work is me. I just
you are work.
where
That's
I go,
right.
the work is.
Yeah. Mike says, I've suggested a night nurse before,
Mm.
but by the time my kids are asleep, the Midwest is going to bed already, and Frank has started his next day. So,
Yeah, I think my wife might kill me if I just started randomly doing super late night shows. Though, believe me, there is a part of me that wants to do the after dark show in the traditional sense. I want to have an adult beverage and sit there and talk about things I wouldn't talk about usually. I just think not everybody has the tolerance for that. But
yeah, yeah.
there are
Well,
times.
heck, most of our, interactions as far as like the chats back and forth,
Yeah.
they are typically late into the evening. Like
Yes.
we'll send a chat and then it's like, oh, yeah, 10, 11, midnight.
Oh yeah.
I get
Yeah.
one back from Eric. I send one to him, and there we go.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, I'm kind of a 2 a.m. bedtime.
Yep.
Pretty often, guys. I know it sounds terrible. If you ever do e-commerce, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. If you do e-commerce a lot, you end up doing a lot of that because you
Yep.
do not want to be on a site that is live and being used while you're doing work on the site. And if you're doing things like product launches or you're doing price changes, those happen at night, man. And sometimes you can't schedule all of that. There are
Yeah.
automations for some things, but not always.
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned how to do the the late night squad
There you go.
real early.
Absolutely. The networking and social
Yeah.
media is a great way to learn about the industry, learn new techniques and views of others. Excellent,
Yep.
Barb. Thank you for sharing that. And Mike says, oh, I could very likely arrange time for a special event, just couldn't commit to a regular evening.
I think
show.
Mike's campaigning for a return of the cocktail hour. I think. I'm not sure I disagree with him on that one. You guys don't remember during the pandemic, we used to do those cocktail hours. Some of those were pretty great. We had
Uh-huh.
some interesting Zoom.
They were
calls.
great. They were, yeah. So
Sometimes great, sometimes a little
got,
much.
a little, got a little out of hand, right? Yep. So, oh well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Yep. Me too. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well.
All right, so let's talk about other stuff. You know what?
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna-
I asked you what's new and good, Eric. I'm not going to let you off the hook on that, and we
Okay,
want to hear what's new and good for the folks tuning into the half here as well. So I'm throwing it at you first today.
Let's see. What's new and good this week? What I am going to say is I'm still kind of on the product launch role at my main employment over at Brilliant. So this last kind of thing we were doing, the last big push, we hadn't done the full complete launch. We had done the soft launch. And so I was emailing 70,000 people last night. So that's what I was doing. So yeah, if you want to talk about those kinds of things, yes, that's what I was doing. I was emailing everybody on that collection I showed you guys last week.
Yeah.
So big marketing push that I put together finally went out, and so we're seeing what's going on. And I'm trying not to watch graphs while we do other things. Believe me, I want to watch the graphs of all my click-throughs and everything while we're watching other things. But I'm going to be.
I'll be like, hey, Eric, come back over here to the half to put the graphs down.
You see my eyes wander off screen to one of the other monitors. Try and bring me back to center, because that's right. Where I'm at right now. That's my big new thing. Also,
awesome.
What I do want to tell you guys, because we just talked about it briefly after our previous show. Next year's stuff is already starting up, and I'm signed on for classes for Impressions Expo already. Awesome. So I'm just going to let you guys know that's the next thing that's kind of coming up. That was this week. I finalized that. So Long Beach is happening, and I've got 4 sessions for sure. Those are signed up for now. So if you guys are going to be out at Long Beach, then I signed my contract. So it's 4 sessions at Long Beach with me. So we'll be talking about that again.
Very cool. I love it.
That's the new things for me this week. You guys might be interested in, hopefully.
Excellent. All right. Well, Mike says, I've lost count of the number of times I've seen an Eric comment or like appear on something in the wee hours thinking, go to bed, and then, wait, why am I still up?
Right. You guys don't get to tell me that, because how many times I've had one of you like or comment on something when I'm posting at 3 a.m. is a non-zero number.
Yes. I love it. All right. Well, you guys, what's so I'm looking forward to hearing what's good with the folks from the half here who's tuned in. But
your wins this week. Let's do it.
Yeah, man, I got this. I think the big one for me is just to really, kind of getting that push out there for the Growing Your Business Effortlessly workshop, the strategic planning workshop. I was able to do it back in July, and got a ton of great feedback. So this is new and improved. We're actually going to turn it into a 2-day event. So not 2-day, but 2 90-minute sessions on a Friday and a Saturday evening, or Friday and Saturday later afternoon. I wouldn't say get into the evening. And then the other fun part, though, is I've decided to add what's called a Future You party to the mix. Mm-hmm. And if you've not heard of a Future You party, or Come As You'll Be, or As If, those are some other terms that people use for an event like that. But the idea is, we're going to be planning, right? We're going to be looking ahead to what our goals are and things like that. And so what we do is we kind of have like a little just get together. We're going to do it on Zoom, and we all show up, and I'll kind of introduce it. And then we go, okay, from this point forward, we're actually 5 years ahead. Right. So we're like we are going to be 5 years from now. And then we just have all those conversations. We talk about all the things we just did in the last 5 years that made us to this idea of success that we just planned for. Right. So we're kind of transporting ourselves in our minds to the future. But what that does for us, first and foremost, is it's super fun. It's kind of just cool to see people kind of winning, right? Living that, like, oh man, I did do this, right? And they start putting that in their heads. They start thinking that. So from an external standpoint, it's just fun. It's just a really fun thing to do. But from an internal standpoint, what it also does is it allows us to solidify that in our mind, right? So we start, because now you're going, okay, 5 years from now, what did I do? How did I get there, right? Now, then you start filling in the blanks. Now, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this, right? So I've been to events like this where, in fact, I don't have it with me, but the reason I have that, I've got a mock-up of the book that I'm writing. I made my own cover and taped it over the top of the Success Principles book, but I carry that with me, and I made that for a Future You style party. Because that, I wanted to show, my book came out, it was really well received, and from there I've been doing X, Y, and Z, and so it's that kind of a thought process in our head, and call it hokey, call it woo-woo, whatever you want to call it. I call it successful, right? Because I see people doing this all the time, and it's helped me move forward too. So Jack Canfield has a couple of great stories about some different Future You parties that they've had, and it's incredible how much that turns into reality when you actually go into that much detail, right? So again, people show up with props, they do different things. So this will be a little bit smaller, so I'm not sure that anybody will have a ton of props, but that's okay, whatever you want to do, right? And you just show up wherever you're at. But the idea is we all agree that everything that we speak about for the next however long we're going to do it, I think probably be 30, 45 minutes, depending on how everybody's doing. We can go a little bit longer, but we'll basically be able to have those conversations in so it'll be 2027 at that point, right? And so we'll all be super successful and be having those conversations. So anyhow, that's
Ramona's got a good one comment for you on that one. So she says, Aaron, what you think about, you bring about.
that's right. Yep.
Not bad. And by the way, we have some wins. Since we have Ramona on, I just want to talk about
Yeah.
this real quick. She's like, I've been asked to teach a class next year. Just one I'm looking forward to. Awesome. I love to see people who like I've had in my classes who are off now teaching and doing stuff. I know recently I was talking to Justin. I know Justin's going to be teaching soon too. If you know Justin Armento over the Embroidery Nerd, I was helping him out with some stuff and kind of showed him the ropes on some of the back end for, teaching at events and stuff. And he's somebody who I remember him talking to me about blogging really early on back in the day. And I remember kind of him saying, want to get into blogging because of, watching and reading your blog back in the day. And I was like, that's so awesome. I've known Justin for a long time. So it's like, it's kind of cool to see him getting to teach. I see Ramona now teaching. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see you guys moving into that space. That's great.
Yep.
And one more huge win.
Yeah.
I love this one. Mike says, we've had our military samples approved. He's done these incredible padded patches, right? You need to see these raised patches he did.
Cool.
So moving on to the next stage of that at a military pace. Yeah, I've been there. They're adjusting artwork, but approved our product. Just getting past the point of getting your technical product approved is huge. So congratulations, Mike. So Ramona and Mike, congratulations. Those are great.
Yeah, definitely.
Great wins for the week.
What other wins do you guys have out there? Looking forward to hearing about that.
Sure.
But
all right, man.
All right. Well, what else do you guys want to talk about? And we can talk about anything else too. So
we do Q&A. We could do down to technical stuff about embroidery and sublimation if you want, or we can keep on the the train of self-improvement and education, that stuff too.
Yeah. I got one for you then, Eric. So
sure,
I know you're not going to be able to make it out to Printing United with us. So while I'm out there, I want to be your eyes and ears out there. What is it that you'd like me to, and the rest of you guys too, if you're not able to make it. The nice part is I've got a booth, but I'm going to have other people hanging around in the booth. So I don't necessarily, in fact, I know I'm not going to be there a whole lot. So what do you want me to go see, learn, hear from people about?
I would like to see certainly because this is a pretty print focused event. I'm not saying there's no embroidery there, but it's a pretty print focused event.
It is.
I'd like to see if and what people think when they're around the embroidery area. Certainly. I know I'm going to tell you guys, if you haven't been watching or listening to people talk about color reel is starting to make more of an impact. And I don't know if they're displaying there yet. I haven't checked that out, but I just recently saw, and something that we talked about that a lot of people were not sure would ever happen. I just saw an install of a multi-head machine with a color reel system on every head coming out of ZSK. So ZSK, the people who reposted, I think it was in the US, but it was ZSK Germany who reposted it. It was Frank Giesmann over there who had posted it. It was a multi-head ZSK machine with a color reel unit on every single head, and somebody made that investment. And I've also seen a couple of people who I know pretty well. If you guys know Vitor, he's got a single color reel unit that he's playing with. Creative Skill, they've got one. There's a few different people who are starting to bring color reel in, and I want to see what that's going to mean for embroidery.
Yeah,
I mean, I still don't think it's going to be mass adoption for everybody. And it definitely does not make traditional versions of embroidery and digitizing go away by any means. In fact, the funny thing is a lot of people are like immediately saying, hey, why are you still have multiple needles then if you can do everything, all the colors on one needle? And immediately all the answers came back, multiple kinds of thread, metallic threads, different weights of thread, other things that you would do that you also might want colors or you might want fluorescence or things that you can't dye out. We all know that from sublimation too. You can't make a fluorescent. You can make a color that's bright. You can't make a true fluorescent color.
Correct.
Without
or metallic
materials or metallics. So that kind of stuff is still going on, but it is interesting to see it being more widely adopted. I know I took I took a brief tour and training thing with the folks at Color Reel to see more about it. But yeah, I'd like to see how the print world and the embroidery world collide over there a little bit, because I know that embroidery is not the focus at Printing United. Then I would also just like to see how like you said, the convergence, we've been talking about that before too, the general convergence of different print medias and how people are kind of adjusting to that. Love to see more of that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm making notes here. Let's real quick before we, a couple of things. I just wanted to go back to Mike's comment. He said, thanks all. We're pretty proud. Long way to go. But like you said, Eric, I mean, that's a big step. So
it's huge. Now, getting that technical stuff approved is huge. Having done some, now my experience, less military, we did that with police, and it took a very long time to get art and technical stuff approved. I remember doing an entire set for Bernalillo County Sheriffs, and that was one little county, or well, okay, big county in New Mexico, but it's a New Mexico county, and that's enough for me to blanch at it. And I definitely remember doing that kind of approvals with big kind of box stores and things back in the early days of my career. And
Yeah.
that's a thing, getting those approvals.
For sure, for sure. All right, Ramona, talking about the color reel, says I can't justify the investment, but I saw that Wilcom is setting up for digitizing for color reel, so I would be interested in that. So,
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit, Eric.
Well, yeah, I haven't gotten to see what they're doing specifically yet. Right now, the color reel stuff I'm familiar with is going to do the coloration in their software, which will work with any DST, any stitch file that you put into it.
Okay.
But I am interested to see what the integration looks like, because right now the process is a little clunky, and I'm going to say honestly, the technology is not as precise as people want it to be. The one thing everybody always asks is, can I just essentially print a picture on thread? And no, you can't, because you can't be that precise with your positioning of when the colors change. It's not that precise.
Okay.
You will have a range of where blends hit. I want to see what it's like in real production, though. The funny thing is, so far what I see in production is people just making use of the color by maybe they're printing a general pattern that's interesting of colors, or they're printing lots of gradients where the starts and stops aren't as important, and running off any area where there might be an issue with the transition underneath the top stitching. So they're hiding the transition areas.
Gotcha.
And then just using gradients because it's really impressive right now. That's because it's like the hardest thing to do with standard thread. It takes a lot of work to make it with standard thread colors. I would love to see the integration, because right now that's what I think is probably the most clunky, at least on the digitizing side of it, is that you are taking a stitch file and then going back into color reel and using their tools. And if it was something where in your digitizing file you could do it all at the same time, that'd probably be more impressive. I'd still think I feel like you do that. It's a very specialty thing, and I still want to see where it goes. I want to see it in production.
Yeah.
And
I think I think you and Mike are kind of it seems like in the same boat here, right? He says, I'm still very skeptical about color reel for a lot of reasons. Mind is still open, but haven't seen many reasons to change it yet. Need to see one person before I solidify my position.
Yeah,
one in person. Sorry.
Seen them running in person. They're very impressive technologically. Talked to the people over there. Like I said, I did an entire session with them about the digitizing, and got some resources from them to look through, and worked in the software for a little bit. It's interesting. It feels right now like when people are using it, I think that they're looking for a place to use it still a little bit. It is really impressive for certain things. Like I said, you want gradients on a satin stitch letter. Great. The only problem is that, like I said, as you turn through the shapes in a satin stitch letter, you can't do half of a stitch. So let's say you turn your stitch angle and all of a sudden you have vertical stitches. Each one of those stitches, you're not going to be able to stop and say, on every stitch, half this color, half this color. That is not happening. So we can't have a gradient that goes top to bottom if we start turning our stitch angles. So there is still, like, we pretty much have to have the gradients follow our stitch angle, and that's something that I'm not saying is a problem. It just means that the things we keep imagining we can do, like do somebody's text and have it in a big gradient, a big sunset gradient, you probably are going to have to go to fills or change it or do something different, because you're just not, that's not the way the system works.
Gotcha.
We have to learn artistically what we can design for the system. It's not going to solve all the problems people think that you have with trying to change colors with your threads. I think that's the thing. People think it's going to change out all the stuff we have to do with gradients. Gradient fills, yes, much better. It's a much better way to go. But even if you think about how a fill builds in software, or if you've ever watched Embroidery Machine run, where it fills up to some point, then goes somewhere else and fills back down to the original point, depending on the entries and exits and stuff like that, it means that we have to break things up so that it works. The gradient capability is really cool. I like the idea that, honestly, the other idea is kiosk style. I can really see this for kiosk style or corporate, where we're matching Pantones on the fly, and that's cool. But right now, what I'm seeing people do with it is they want to show the impressiveness of that gradation or color change. One of the other ones they do that's really cool is they'll do a grass pattern, and then they have a fairly randomized pattern of colors inside of that grass. That's really cool, but it's something that's, it's like we haven't gotten to the point yet where we're digitizing or designing for what it can do. And I think that's probably, right now, I think people still think of it as a solution to an old problem rather than as a new opportunity. We'll have to see why that works.
Mike says, that's where I'm at with it. The gradient capability is nice, but I think it's a solution to a problem that nobody really has. Yep. And then his other fantastic marketing, though. Kudos to Color Reveal on their part. All right. Hey, I want to hit this one, too. I know nothing about this, Eric. So what should I be looking for here?
This is something that Vitor's been doing, and these are the funny thing is it's not the first time cutting needles have been around. The concept is a needle that we run on one of our needle bars for the embroidery machine that cuts. It's got a it's essentially the needle is a blade, and it cuts with the software. You're essentially going to digitize in a cut line. The cutting needles are interesting. I think they make a lot of lint and stuff, so not everybody loves that concept. There were cutting needles before that were you're in the home market and you kind of had to put different needles in depending on the angle of the cuts and things. They were not very easy to handle. And honestly, it's something I don't have a tremendous amount of experience with. The stuff that Vitor's doing, he's making a cutting needle that's more universal and you can cut things on the machine and it's set by depth. I just want to see more people putting them in use first. I would like to see the use cases on it. He's done some interesting stuff with it. I don't know how much damage that we're getting on the back end, or I would love to see one of his garments up close to see what kind of cutting is going on. He did a lot of adjustments for depths and stuff. And it's interesting to see, but I don't know. It's like the only person I know who's putting one out that's Vitor. He's doing that himself. And we've had some people who have them. I know, but I haven't seen a lot of them myself or haven't gotten a chance to use them. For me, I still feel like traditional cutting methods are going to be more interesting to me. But once again, a set of needles is a lot cheaper than any other cutting method I know. And if you don't mind cleaning up in between, then, maybe it's something for you. But any of the kind of methods like that I've seen, they tend to be a little linty. They produce a lot of lint. And in large production, I would have to question myself a little bit on how much cleanup and what's happening underneath that needle plate.
Okay.
But, I just want to see it. Vitor's done more testing than I have. He's been making those himself. He's the one who's putting those together, and I'd love to see more of it. So nothing against it. It's something that's been around before. And as Barb says here, she has cutting needles for her Viking Ruby for cut work. Yeah. They used to come in a set where it had different angles of cutting needles. So that's something that was in the home market more for cut and lace work stuff that was being done, or open work, cut work. But the stuff that Vitor's doing is more, kind of more commercially done and done that way.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting.
Right. Yeah, very interesting. Cool. I mean, I'm learning a lot. I love it. Who thought? Who would? I felt like I knew everything I needed to know about embroidery with my 15 minutes of experience, but I guess.
Well, my non-answer is to watch it. And Frank says, I have tested it. Works well, but only done patches. So yeah, like I said, that's an interesting way to go about it. I'm willing to see any technology go. Like I said, it's one of those things where it's like I haven't tested it myself, so I don't tell you that stuff. What I have seen is from other methods of cutting like that. The one complaint I hear about is the lintiness of it, just cutting on the machine.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Very cool.
I want to see more. You got. Yeah. There's a lot of videos. Go to Vitor's page. Vitor has a lot of the videos of him doing it. So.
I wonder if that, like you said, this Printing United is certainly a print, not a needle kind of place. There won't be a whole lot of embroidery represented, but yeah. If I see anybody with embroidery, I will ask them about cutting needles and see what else I can find out.
See if they say anything, and see what kind of technologies are out there.
Yeah. All right. Question from Frank for me, for us here, Eric. The Reggies, I only filled out 8 of the 10 categories. Is it possible to revisit and add? Absolutely, 100%. Just go right back in there. You may have to fill it out again, but if you use the same email address, it just copies over the top of what you already put in there. So honestly, you can change your nominations right up until the end, and so, like I said, as long as you use the same email address, it just copies right over the top. If somebody's using a whole bunch of multiple emails, we may have to take a look at that, right? Stuffing the ballot box. We're not interested in that kind of thing, but
that gets cleaned out when it's
yeah. But again, when we do the nominations, it's all about we're going to share, pretty much everybody that gets listed. Thank you, Eric. If you go over to tworegularguys.com/Reggies, you can get your nominations in for that, and.
Your favorite products, your favorite people in the industry, and maybe even your favorite shows. Jump in.
That's right.
Check that out, tworegularguys.com/Reggies.
Yep, definitely. Barb, I got your note here, so I will see what I can find out about that as well. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, speaking of the Reggies, again, if you want to put that back up there, tworegularguys.com/Reggies. Eric, we're just amongst friends here, right? It's just some close friends. This isn't what is recorded, but we won't tell anybody that. I want to know tell me who you nominated, right? I want to hear all about who you nominated.
I mean, there's just some people you just have to. That's between me and the nomination form, folks.
Yes, we don't say who nominated. We'll just read off all the people that Eric nominated, though. So,
yeah.
All right, guys, get over there, check that out. Have a great rest of your Friday. Thanks, everybody.
See you next time.